Science tells us that decisions made in moments of anger are far more likely to be wrong than decisions made in a calm state of mind. When emotions take control, the brain stops thinking clearly. Logic becomes weak and feelings take over. That is why the great philosopher Aristotle once said, "Anyone can become angry, but to be angry with the right person, at the right time, for the right reason, and in the right amount, that is true skill." But the real question is, how many of us have truly mastered this skill? Most people fail to realize how a single moment of anger can destroy relationships, built over many years. Sometimes, just one emotional decision is enough to change the direction of an entire life. Today's story teaches us a powerful truth. Having power does not make a person strong. True strength comes from the ability to control one's emotions. Long ago, there lived a powerful king. He was intelligent, respected, and highly capable. But despite all his wisdom, he had one major weakness: his anger. He lost his temper very quickly. Even small mistakes made him furious. And whenever he was angry, his decisions were driven by emotion rather than reason. Many innocent people received harsh punishments for minor errors. The people of the kingdom feared the king, but fear is never the same as respect. One day, the king's childhood teacher arrived at the palace. Years ago, this very man had taught the king not only lessons from books, but also lessons about life, patience, and character. The king welcomed his teacher with great honor and invited him to dinner. That evening, they sat together, sharing food and talking about old memories from the past. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. A fly fell into the king's soup. The moment the king noticed it, his face turned red with rage. He slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "What is this? A fly in my soup? How can you be so careless?" The servant standing nearby began to tremble in fear. With a shaky voice, he replied, "Your Majesty, there was no fly in the soup when it was served." But the king's anger did not calm down. His voice grew louder and his temper grew stronger. Seeing the situation, the childhood teacher spoke gently. "Your Majesty," he said calmly, "please think for a moment. The servant did not bring the fly. It must have fallen into the soup later." The king replied irritably, "Teacher, you don't understand. Even small things like this ruin my mood." The teacher smiled softly and said something that changed everything. "Your Majesty, the fly did not destroy your peace. Your reaction did. A person who cannot rule over his own emotions can never truly rule over anything else." The king fell silent. After a pause, the teacher continued speaking. "Decisions made in anger or extreme happiness are often wrong. Before making any decision, give yourself some time. Do not allow emotions to control you. You must learn to control your emotions." The king lowered his voice and replied, "I try, but I still fail to control my anger." The teacher answered, "That is because you have never practiced control. Patience is also a habit. Just as physical strength requires exercise, emotional control also requires practice." These words left a deep impact on the king's mind. In the days that followed, the king began to pause before reacting. He learned to take a breath before speaking. Slowly, he realized that when the mind is calm, thoughts become clear. And when thoughts are clear, decisions become wiser. With time, the king noticed a great change within himself. He was calmer than before. Court decisions became easier. People no longer feared him. They began to respect him. Not only did the kingdom become more peaceful, but the king's own life became happier and more balanced. One day, the king approached his childhood teacher and said, "Your words have changed my life. Now I understand true strength is not found in anger, but in control." The teacher smiled kindly and replied, "You are not alone in this struggle. Many people act under emotional pressure without realizing it. What you have learned, share it with others. Encourage them to practice patience and calmness, so they too can live better lives." The teacher paused for a moment and then added, "It is important to understand that anger, happiness, and sadness are all temporary emotions. They come and they go. They are a natural part of life, but we should never allow them to control our actions." These words left a deep mark on the king's heart. This story does not end with the king, because this lesson is not only for rulers, it is for all of us. In today's pressure-filled world, we easily fall into stress, frustration, and anxiety. But when we become aware of our emotions and learn how to control them, we regain power over our own lives. Emotions are natural and unavoidable. However, when we react without thinking, they can become harmful. Acting in haste under emotional influence often leads to regret later. The first step toward emotional control is identifying our emotional triggers. Triggers are things that make us angry, sad, or disturbed. They are different for everyone. For some people, criticism is a trigger. For others, traffic failure or painful memories can trigger strong emotions. To recognize our triggers, we must practice self-reflection. When emotions feel overwhelming, we should stay present in the moment and observe those emotions without judgment. Simple techniques like deep breathing, meditation, taking a short break, or talking to a trusted friend can help calm the mind. Most importantly, we must remember this: emotions are temporary. They rise and they fall. When we respond with patience and kindness, we can face life's challenges without being controlled by temporary feelings. And only then can we live a life that is free from regret, rich in peace, and balanced in every way.